Items shown, such as videos, presentations, pictures, or maps, must be left with the clerk for the public record. Items shown from electronic devices should be emailed to the clerk, or you can leave your phone. A motion will be made and seconded. Board discussion may occur and conclude with a vote. I will request a roll call vote for any split votes. Moving on to the first item on our agenda, we're going to go to proof of publication. The minutes?
Minutes.
Proof of publication first? We usually do. Proof of publication. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Next, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. There are no technical review items tonight, so we'll move directly to public hearing items. Item number 1, the West Orange rezone.
Good evening, Annie Silloway with Development Services. I will be presenting the West Orange rezone. This request is for a rezone from A1 agriculture to R1A single-family dwelling for one lot, single-family residential lot on approximately 0.3 acres located on the north side of West Orange Street, approximately 130 feet west of Laura Avenue. Lot 21 was formerly joined with lots 22, 23, and 24. In 2006, the property was subdivided by way of warranty deed without seeking county approval to create a new parcel consisting of Lot 21 and a portion of Lot 22. The remainder of Lot 22 was combined with Lots 23 and 24. The creation of these two parcels created two non-conforming parcels. In order to legalize the parcel, the applicant will first have to rezone the property, and the second step is for the applicant to apply for a preliminary subdivision plan, a PSP, and a final plat. The subject property is currently zoned A1 agriculture with a lot size of 11,158 square feet and a lot width of 80 feet, which does not meet the lot size or width for the current A1 zoning designation or the surrounding parcels zoned R1AA, which require a minimum lot size of 11,700 square feet and a minimum lot width of 90 feet. The subject property is within the San Lando Springs Plat, Tract 53. The San Lando Springs Plat, Tract 68, which is 1,200 feet from the subject property, is zoned R1A. Staff has determined that since the subject site is part of the overall subdivision called San Lando Springs, which consists of properties with the R1AA and R1A zoning classification, the request to rezone the property to R1A is consistent with the surrounding area. Utilities for the site are Seminole County Water, and the homeowner would be required to install a septic tank. Staff recommends Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 agriculture to R1A single-family dwelling for 0.3 acres, located on the north side of West Orange Street and approximately 130 feet west of Laura Avenue. And that concludes my presentation.
Very good. Questions of staff? No? Is the applicant present?
Yes, he is.
Would you like to present?
Jimmy Ramson, 131 Cotton Court, Sanford, Florida. I wish to add nothing to this. I think everything was presented very well by Ms. Silloway.
Okay, very good. Questions of the applicant? Anything? All right. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Seeing none, I do have one comment card here for opposition. Mark Pennington, would you like to come up?
Yeah, my name is Mark Pennington. I live on the other side of the street,
Address for the record.
400 West Orange. I've lived there 30 years. This piece of property's been sold 2 or 3 times, and in the past, it was something about the well and septic tank. There's other people on the block right there that are on wells, and if they put a septic tank, that'd be too close to their well. That's been a problem in the past. I really don't know what. Nobody's told us what they want to do. You know, we're coming to the meeting. And another thing we pay for 2 lots, most of taxes and everything. What's it gonna do to our property value if a smaller lot is, I don't know what, it's unknown. We don't know what, we don't know what they plan. They're gonna build a tiny house, so they're gonna, I mean, the size lot, it may affect our taxes. Nobody's told me what, the pros or cons, or, I don't know.
Okay. Could
It's
we
the
have
uncertainty.
staff maybe address, I know there's plans for a septic tank. Could we address the location of
The
that?
neighbor has a well.
Yes, so for the record, Mary Moskowitz, Planning and Development Services. So the septic and well would be reviewed by the Health Department, so we would need to meet all of those requirements. So, this action before you tonight is just to rezone the property. This is an existing lot, so, as far as the size of the lot, it's already been assessed at that size, so they're not changing the size of the lot.
So unlikely to affect his property taxes, that's the answer.
It was never big enough to build on before.
The property appraiser does the valuations, but it is based on the property and the size of not, the surrounding areas.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Okay?
Yes? Okay. Yes, would you like to come up, fill out a card with Stacia? Oh, Mary has it. Mary, are you my timer tonight?
Are you the card first?
Are you the timer?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I will.
Hi, my name's Diane Nass, and I live around the corner
Okay.
of where the property's going to be. on
Address for the record.
West Citrus Street, 415 West Citrus Street.
Thank you.
I've been there for approximately 37 years, and I've seen a lot of changes as far as the road. It used to be dirt road. And I walk my dog at night, and I am so happy to be where I'm at. My children have homes, too, that are in different parts of the city, Oviedo, in different parts, and their homes are farther away from the next home. It's not like the new homes that they're real close together. And as I walk, I'm very thankful where I'm at. I like that. It's not a fancy house. It's a just very quaint house, but it's nothing that's close to each other, is what I'm saying, the way new houses are. And that's what I'm concerned about, as I live on the other side. I like the way our homes are. They're pretty much the same exact distance between each other. So I hope you'll take that into consideration to have it look the same, the way our blocks are. Okay? Thank you. It's my first time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other member of the audience that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? Great. Is that a yes?
Hi. Wallace Wilson, 2919 Aspen Peak Court, Claremont, Florida. I'm speaking on behalf of the owner of the lot. He plans to build a nice residential home there. The lot has currently got a fence on it. It has a lot of junky stuff back behind the fence that you can't see that probably should be eliminated anyway. So I think it's a method of cleaning up that portion of the neighborhood and building an outstanding home in that area.
Thank you.
Sir? Excuse us?
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and give the applicant a chance for rebuttal, if you'd like.
Should I state my name and address again? Jimmy Rampersad, 131 Cotton Court, Sanford, Florida. In regards to the comments that's been made about them not, about the size of the house and the size of the lot, this is a lot that is it's adjoining to another lot right now, so the space is there. We're not asking for anything that is out of the norm in the neighborhood. As I said, the space is there. I'm intending to build a one-family, 1,500 square foot house, so it would not change the looks of the place. In regards to not knowing information, we had a public meeting like a month ago, and nobody attended the meeting. We stayed there for like 2 hours, so all the information would have been given there. As I said, I'm not doing anything different. The spacing is going to be the same. It's just going to be revised that empty lot sitting there right now, and all we're doing is putting the house, and that's all. Thank you.
Any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question. Have you checked your setbacks and distances from the neighboring wells to see if you could put a septic tank and a well on the property?
Well, I know no, I haven't done that because, I mean, that's a part until you're
Okay.
permits you go
Okay,
through that
so you
process.
still may be running into a problem with that moving forward? If it doesn't work, as far as your septic tank, you won't be able to build,
Basically, I think
obviously.
the restriction in the place is once you have 0.25 acres and above, you should have enough space based on the size of the house. We should have enough space for the septic tank.
Okay, well, thank you.
And it is city water, so it's no well.
Right.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. If none, then do we have any board discussion? Motion?
Madam Chair, I'll recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 agriculture to R1A single-family dwelling for .3 acres located on the north side of West Orange Street and approximately 130 feet west of Laura Avenue.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Just for the record, this item has been scheduled for the April 25th BCC meeting.
So that motion carries. Let's move on to item number 2, our East State Road 436 rezone.
That would be me. Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Doug Robinson with Planning and Development.
Good evening.
So I'm here to speak about the request to rezone from office OP to retail commercial C1 for a portion of an existing commercial site to continue as a restaurant use and reinstate a previously existing drive-through service window. So just to be clear, it's really about reinstating the drive-through service window. And in order to allow that, we've asked that the split zoning on the property, which is C1 and OP, be resolved. So the restaurant and drive-through window were originally built around 1990. The drive-through window was closed around 2003 when the Japanese restaurant opened up. The subject property has a commercial future land use designation on the whole entire site, as you can see on the left side of the screen there. The intent of the commercial future land use designation is to provide appropriate locations for a variety of commercial uses, including retail sales, restaurants, highway-oriented businesses, and other commercial services. The commercial designation permits a maximum intensity of 0.35 for floor area ratio. The property currently accesses off of East State Road 436, which is a principal arterial road, has a varying level of service depending on the time of day and direction. There are no improvements in Plan for 436. There are sidewalks to the site, so no sidewalks need to be built. Also, the utilities are already connected through Seminole County for water and sewer to the site. Regarding buffers and landscaping, the site would be required to meet all land development code requirements at the time it comes in for the final site plan for buffering, landscaping, and so on. Staff finds that the proposed C1 zoning classification is compatible with the surrounding development in the area and is consistent with both the allowable use and intensity provisions for the commercial future land use designation. A virtual community meeting was held for this project on February 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m. The applicant reported that there were no attendees. So that concludes my presentation, and I want to say staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from OP office to C1 retail commercial for a portion of an existing commercial site on approximately 0.90 acres located on the south side of East State Road 436, just east of Avery Lane. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have questions of staff?
Yeah, the two parcels to the east, I'm guessing, towards Executive Park Court, are they both restaurants also?
Yes, I believe there's a La Granja, and I forget the name of the other one, but there are
Okay.
2 restaurants. And then, as you can see in the pink to the south, not on the parcel in question, but to the south, and that is an office, executive office park,
Okay.
or an office park.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to also add real quick, there's a pretty generous landscape buffer already existing along the western portion of the property, roughly maybe 50 feet wide.
I see that, yes. Thank you.
Other questions of staff? No? Is the applicant present? Would you like to present?
Hello.
Would you like to make a presentation?
No, I don't think I have anything to add.
You can just say Doug did a great job. Any questions of the applicant, though, while we have him up here?
No.
Okay,
Augusto Yuval. Augusto.
very good. Is there any member of the audience who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition of this item? I have a Jose Roa, yeah. Do you want to come up to the microphone?
How you guys doing today? Good. My name is Jose Roa. I live at 711 Avery Lane. That's the 3rd house from 436. I'm smack right in the middle of where they want to develop. First things first, have you guys ever seen the traffic in that area? I only have one way in, one way out of my subdivision. It's not a very big subdivision. I have to make a U-turn on 436 to order to get to my house. Now, how many businesses are going to be there? I don't know. Yes, the whole place is full of restaurants. So once every year, I fight rats. So what else are we going to put there? Tattoo parlors? Smoke shops? I don't know. I don't want to see that no more here, especially Seminole County. That's why I love Seminole County. I think you guys do a great job. I think the community is always involved. I love Seminole County. That's why I stayed here since 1988. I left to join the Marine Corps, but I came back here. I'm originally from New York City. So anyway, when I look at my backyard, I got a big, nice backyard. Nice. Pool, grass, it's nice. When they knock down all those trees, what am I gonna see? Am I gonna see anything? Am I gonna see all the restaurants, the fire department, 436? I mean, I already hear the the fire department always coming out, which is fine because I'm very close to 436, but are the trees gonna, I know they muffle the sound already because I hardly hear any traffic from 436.
The time's gone off, I apologize, I didn't.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I filled one out.
This is the one you gave me
She got
already.
it. She got it.
I have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the audience who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition of this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Would the applicant like a chance for rebuttal? To speak to the traffic or the trees or buffers?
Well, this is a restaurant, it's already existing restaurant, so it's not gonna really change anything. Used to be a Dunkin' Donuts before this Japanese sushi, and it's fine. It has a very big buffer zone, and half of the property of my property is already a buffer zone, so it's not gonna change any view from any backyard, really. There are only 3 or 4 houses. I think it's not any problem.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of the applicant from the board? No? Then, board discussion, motion?
I'd like a motion to recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from OP office to C1 retail commercial on .9 acres located on the south side of State Road 436, just east of Avery Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Seeing none, the motion carries. We'll move on to item number 3, El Caserio rezone.
Annie Silloway with Development Services Senior Planner. This request is for a rezone from A1 agriculture to R1A single-family dwelling for a approximate 9-lot single-family residential subdivision on approximately 6.47 acres located on Old Lockwood Road, approximately 558 feet south of Fawn Run. The applicant is requesting a rezone from A1 agriculture to R1A single-family dwelling in order to develop the subject property as a single-family residential subdivision. The subject property has an existing low-density residential future land use designation which allows up to 4 dwelling units per net buildable acre. The applicant is proposing approximately 9 lots, and there are approximately 1.6 acres of wetlands on site. Seminole County will be the service provider for water and sewer. There is an existing 6-inch sanitary sewer pipe running along the east side of Old Lockwood Road. However, Environmental Services has determined there is not sufficient sanitary sewer capacity in the county's downstream systems for the subject property to develop, and the county is unable to provide capacity to sanitary sewer at this time. Until the county can increase the downstream capacity, no proposed development can be approved in this service area. However, the applicant can proceed with the rezone and develop with the intent to connect to the sanitary sewer. But the applicant will not be issued certificates of occupancy until downstream capacity becomes available. The applicant has been put on notice of the sewer capacity issues. Environmental Services currently has a project underway to add downstream capacity. The county should have sufficient capacity once the project is complete. The proposed project is located within the Big Econ-Lockahachie River drainage basin and has a limited downstream capacity. Therefore, the site will have to be designed to hold 25-year, 24-hour storm event on site unless a viable legal outfall is determined. Staff finds the request to be consistent with the Seminole County Land Development Code in the surrounding area. There are several developments in close proximity to the subject site with 70-foot width lots. Ellingsworth was developed with 70-foot width single-family lots, and Carlin was developed as a planned development with 70-foot wide single-family lots. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 agriculture to R1A single-family dwelling for 6.47 acres located on Old Lockwood Road, approximately 558 feet south of Fawn Run. And that concludes my presentation.
Questions of staff?
Yeah, Annie, how many years out is the expansion of the sewer system?
I don't know for sure. They said maybe 6 months.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's going to
I
happen?
mean, it's started.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Is the applicant present?
Hi, good evening. Jeremy Anderson with Common Oak Engineering. I'm a professional engineer. I'm on here on behalf of the owners of the property. I thank you, Ms. Silloway, for the presentation. I'm here to answer any questions, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the intention, the owner's intention for the property. They are the owner. They bought the property over a year ago. They fell in love with the property. It's a beautiful property that's set up against the state lands there. Their overall intention is to create kind of a homestead for the family, but again, this is a rezone request, so of course, anything can happen in the future, but that's their intention at this time is really to create what is in line with the future land use maps, which is like a low density type of residential subdivision. So could you pull up the map, please? Thank you. Yeah, so we held a community meeting during this process as well. There were 5 people in attendance at the meeting representing 4 households. I believe 3 of those households were from Hampton Estates, which is right up here immediately north of the property. And then 1 person from Whitetail Run, which is on the north side of Fawn Run there. Whitetail Run has lots that were approved at a 75-foot wide lot, and Hampton Estates has a wider, I believe, a 90-foot wide minimum lot. Just to give you an idea of the low density kind of intention here, we're proposing 9 lots on the property. If you look at the picture here for Hampton Estates there, you can count the number of houses adjacent to our property. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're proposing 9. So it certainly is in that concept of low density. So I thank Ms. Silloway once again for her presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have about the request. Thank you so much.
Questions of the applicant? Cool. Okay. I have a couple of comment cards for this item. I have Tariq Rashid. Would you like to come up and state your name and address for the record?
Thank you. Tariq Rashid, I'm actually from Whitetail Run, 3665 Kershaw Place. I don't think that we have looked at the plot plans for this particular development which is being proposed. We just mentioned Whitetail Run, that's 75 feet lots, but if you look at the Whitetail Run estate, which has R1A classification, more or less 40% of that Whitetail Run actually is preservation area. So I was just looking at lunchtime today, and I noticed that more or less 11 acre of Whitetail Run is preservation forest or something like that, which is basically being preserved, so it's left for wilderness actually. So coming up to this 6.5 acres, the classification that is being asked for, if you imagine, if you squeeze 9 lots in, there is a precedence that we are setting up over here where if you look at 5 acre lots all around, we'll end up with setting up a precedence next to Eco Park, which is just south of this proposed development. I can see down the road that we'll have a very congested situation purely because there are a lot of agriculture A1 lots around this area which are 5 acre or plus, and this would set up a precedence for those to be developed in the same way actually. And especially some of these lots which are next to Eco Park, from my perspective as a layman, I thought that these are buffers actually, which are kind of protecting this Eco Park, which more or less, if you guys go over there on the weekend, you'll see a lot of movement, of families using this Eco Park. So I just want to let the board be cognizant of this peculiarity of being around Eco Park, which is just south of this proposed development. And then keeping in mind that we may set up a precedence where pretty much all the 5 acre lots around the area would follow this lead. That's all.
Thank you. I also have Andrew Verstraete.
Verstraete, yes.
Verstraete.
Yes, my name is Andrew Verstraete, 2342 Brickell Place in Oviedo, which is Hampton Estates immediately adjacent to the subject property. Two things. Feel that we attended the public meeting that was held from the representative, in which they did present an actual plot plan that they do intend to go forward with. So I'm still trying to understand the concept of why they would just go from an A1 to an R1A now with taking a second step. It feels like you're trying to subject or subvert the system and not being able to put the plot plan now with the single step. Secondly, with an R1A property, without any sort of restriction on it right now, the code allows for as little as an 1,100 square foot home. Hampton Estates, immediately adjacent, was done as an R1AA, approved by the County Board of Commissioners. We have a minimum of 3,400 square foot homes in our subdivision. So putting any potential 1,100 square foot home immediately adjacent will affect my property values. So that, and then they're not showing it here, but if you were to look at this plot plan that they're proposing, the majority of the trees on that lot will now be gone. You'll have a road running down the side immediately adjacent to the Econ Wilderness area, which we fought hard to keep and not turn into homes previously, as well as at the very eastern end of the property, they're talking about turning it into a humongous pond. Even though it has to hold quite a bit of water, it still will flow through our conservation area through to the Econ River. Or it will spill into the Econ Wilderness area, which could cause flooding and other issues for the park. So I am not in favor of this between affecting my property values, drainage, and then as Ms. Soloway was so politely said, that we have a sewer problem, of which just up the street on Old Lockwood, there is a new MI subdivision going in, which is going to fill over 200 homes. Not to mention the analysis of the school board or the school's capacity, where both Caroline Elementary and the Jack Knights Middle School are already over capacity. And now you're planning on putting more homes potentially in this section. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the audience that would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? Come on up, sir. Give us your name and address for the record.
You need to fill that out after you get done.
Hi, I'm Anthony Manella. I live at 2100 Hestia Loop, Legacy Point in UCF. I've been here for 1 year, and one of the main attractions for us to come to Legacy was the Econ Wilderness site across the street. My concern with the property just north of the Econ Wilderness, there is an existing pond there. I believe it's a natural pond. So I wasn't sure how that's going to be affected by ongoing development. And also, any impact studies, if there have been done, that will be done, to see how it's going to affect the wildlife across, coming in from the Econ Wilderness site. So I would recommend that at the very least some type of impact analysis be done regarding how it will affect the wilderness site, both regarding water coming in from the proposed retention pond, and also the effect of what happened to wildlife with the removal of most of the trees on that property. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, it does look like that will be required at final engineering analysis. Any other members of the public who'd like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. Would the applicant like a chance for rebuttal?
Yeah, Jeremy Anderson once again. Thank you for the opportunity to speak once again. Yeah, we did speak with the community about, and the members here today during the community meeting, and they did express their concern with like the minimum household size of 1,100 square feet. At that time, they threw out a number that probably wasn't thought out a lot of like more like 2,300 square foot or so. A home would be more with something they would be more comfortable with. And we responded back to them after speaking with the owner that, yeah, the owner has no intention of developing a house less than 2,300 square feet. In regard to the items of stormwater management and threatened and endangered species and flooding and so forth, of course, as you've explained, that it will be handled with the land development regulations during the permitting process later down the line. I'd like to just close saying that the future land use, BAPS, as everyone knows here better than I do, I'm sure, that is the vision of the county. This is a low-density residential future land use, which is articulates the vision of the county at this particular location. The maximum dwelling units are 4 dwelling units per acre in this future land use. We're proposing more like 1.66 dwelling units per acre. So it's a fraction of the density that's allowed here. Once again, I'd like to just point out that, as staff explained, that this request is consistent with a comprehensive plan. So once again, I do appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
I have one question, okay? I want to understand, immediately to the north, the zoning is R1AA, and you're immediately to the south, and then south of you is preservation. Why are you in for an R1A? Why didn't you just do, you're only going to say, you're saying you're only going to have 9 lots. R1AA, you got plenty of room to do only 9 lots, just between R1A and R1AA, there's a size difference, okay? But you still have plenty of room if you're only doing 9 lots. So why did you do R1A?
That's a great question, and I have a concept plan we could share. Of course, this is a rezone request, and so I understand that the plan may change, but the intention of the owner is to preserve a large lot for the existing home there on the water, the pond that's located. Currently, that lot we're proposing at around 230 feet wide, which was, so in order to get to the 9, we needed less than 90 feet. I'd also like to point out that we did take a quick look at this, and the lots that are immediately adjacent to us at Hampton Inn, those lots are 130 feet deep. Our lots we're proposing are like 166 feet deep, so, it's a question of like, what's better, a 75-foot lot that's 75-foot lot that's 166 feet deep, or a 90-foot lot that's 130 feet deep. The areas are almost the same. And if you aggregate the areas, like the average, the areas of the 9 lots were like, average of like over 90 feet of an average. But we are requesting the 75 feet for that reason, to create a large homestead for the owner in the middle.
Well, I mean, I appreciate what you say. If it's that's 230 feet wide, it wouldn't take much to take a few feet out of that for the other 8 lots to be 90 feet instead of 75, but, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have one, actually, too. It was going to be about the subdivision plan. If there was one, why wasn't that being presented to us?
From what I understand, I'll look for the staff to verify this, but I believe that that's the step following the rezoning.
It's not required. I'm just asking if it was presented at the community meeting, why it wouldn't have been.
Oh, I have it right here, if you'd like to see it. Yeah.
I think it's been brought up, so I would like to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's for the record. Yep. I think there's 5 copies of it.
Hand it out to him. That's why I didn't turn on the.
This is a conceptual plan.
Yes. You put it on the screen and then we can,
Has not been engineered. It's a conceptual plan, so it has not been engineered. It's showing in concept stormwater management, a tract of land there around the pond to be preserved, and the larger homestead lot there, lot 5 in the center. And once again, you can visually look at the density. Hampton Estates has 26 homes, in it.
Okay. Okay, any other questions of the applicant?
Are we done?
Any other questions of the applicant asked? No?
No.
Okay. Then I'll leave it up for board discussion or a motion.
I'm opposed to this rezone. I'm not buying this plan. Anybody that would do this would have the lots facing the preservation area where the premium values are and put the road on the other side. They wouldn't do back-to-back, so I don't believe this is a real plan that they intended to do. There's absolutely no reason that he can't do everything he wants to do in R1AA, which is immediately to the north. This doesn't have to be R1A. This is like a bait and switch to me, and I don't like it. So I'm opposed to this. I'll make the motion to be opposed, but I'll let my fellow board members make any comments.
And you're just opposed to the rezone, is that?
Yes, I'm opposed to the rezoning. Because it's the wrong zoning classification. It should be R1AA, not R1A. This site plan is not a commitment, okay? He can go back to an R1AA and get more lots here, I mean R1A and get more lots, make them smaller. He acknowledged that, I don't think they'd anybody do it, but it requires a smaller house, et cetera, et cetera. So if he's willing to only do 9 lots, then R1AA would have been sufficient. He could have just asked for R1AA and been done with it, but he didn't. So I'm suspicious of that, and I'm also suspicious of his plan. It's not a good plan that takes the full value of the property, so I don't think it's real. That's just my opinion, of course. So, if anybody else, I'll make a motion.
Was there further discussion, Commissioner Smith?
No, I'm fine.
I'll recommend the Board of County Commissioners deny the ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 agriculture to R1A single-family dwelling for 6.47 acres located on Old Lockwood Road, approximately 558 feet south of Fawn Run.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
1 opposed. Commissioner Smith? Okay. In that case, the motion passes. So this motion to oppose that passed.
The motion to recommend denial.
Recommend denial, right? Yes. All right, we'll move on to item number 4, Atlantic Drive, small-scale future land use map amendment and PD rezone.
The applicant for Atlantic Drive is a little bit delayed coming to the hearing, so if you don't mind presenting item number 5.
Sure. Move it to the end. Move on then to item number 5, City Church of Orlando, special exception.
Yes. Kathy Hamill, Development Services. The applicant, City Church, is requesting to amend a special exception that was for a private school that was approved by the Board of Adjustment in 2017. Any increases in buildings or uses that exceed 10% require an amendment to the special exception. The applicant is not increasing the number of students as part of this amendment. What they are doing is that they're wanting to expand above the 10% by including a new worship center, which is shared by the school, repurposing the old worship center as an indoor gymnasium multi-purpose room, and also a cafeteria that also could be used as a multi-purpose room since these facilities are shared by both the church and the school. And there is also a new outdoor recreational field. The applicant is redesigning the traffic flow by closing off one of the access points and expanding the southern access point. This will help, especially when it comes to the queuing of the cars through the site. Having it down south eliminates a lot of the traffic flow that's to the north of the property. The current and proposed amendment is consistent with development in the area along Orange Boulevard. Orange Boulevard has a lot of schools, daycares, churches, and neighborhood commercial uses. There will be minimum impacts to the surrounding area since there are no increase in the number of students, and there will be improvements to the traffic flow, and that this expansion will occur on the south side of the property, which abuts a water treatment facility and a communication tower site. On February 16th, they had a community meeting in which 10 citizens attended. We are recommending approval of the amendment subject to the conditions in the staff report and development order. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions of staff? No? Is the applicant present?
Thanks. Hi, Randy Morris, RM Strategies, 330 West Schrotters Drive, Maitland, Florida. I'm here, also David Evans is here of Evans Engineering, if you have any direct questions regarding the site plan, because this really is a site plan issue. And very different from your last hearing, this is what we're going with, what our approval is. So and it deals with the change in the development order, and it also deals with the change in the site plan, which is, we think somewhat minor, and an improvement significantly of what was approved before. Also, we have Pastor Eugene who's here, is there, the pastor of the church, and who runs the school, and he has a couple of members of the congregation with him here. This is a new process, relatively new for y'all. Special exceptions used to be dealt with by the Board of Adjustments, as you're probably aware of. The original approval of this was done by the Board of Adjustments back in 2017. Everything has been going very well with the school as it's been brought into place, and we are not, let me tell you what's important so you understand this, we're not asking for an expansion of the school size. It's what's already been approved, and so the number of students will remain the same and capped at that. What I want to do is just mention a couple of things. One, before I go on to this presentation, I want to thank you all so much for back a year and a half ago, your approval of both the golf courses. If you all, some of you were here on that. I represented the county was actually the applicant, but I actually represented the property owner, and that's been incredibly successful. If you've been talking to the community out there, it's one of the better things that's happened. So jumping from that back to this issue, that was just a thank you, parenthetical thank you. We did a community meeting. We did hear from about roughly 10 people who showed up. About half of them were curious as to what was actually happening. A couple of them raised some issues of which the DO directly deals with. We made sure that those went into the DO in negotiations with staff. Primarily, the main thing that's occurring here is because this is really a pre-K through 12, and yet it's a very small school at 500 students, capped at 500. What you've got is we need a little bit of separation from those students, and they discovered this as they were beginning to run the school and expanding the grades. The grades were being expanded every year, and so the classroom space has been increased. A new church facility is being built, and classrooms are going into that church facility on the second floor. So this will keep a separation from the elementary age kids to the high school age kids, and the classrooms are spread in other buildings around the campus. We can go into that detail to the extent you want to. The second part of what's occurring is there's a slight movement, very slight movement on the sanctuary facility. But most importantly about that church sanctuary facility, the current one is a metal frame building. And this is a non-sectarian religious facility, and there is music, there is quite a bit of enthusiasm for our Lord that occurs on the services time. That sound attenuation, because it's a metal building, does carry out and can be heard across the campus, which is 10 acres, and also potentially could be heard by some neighbors. The new facility that's being built to the south is a tilt-con. It's a concrete construction building that will keep that sound inside much better than the metal building, which will now be converted into a multi-purpose use facility for the students. Additionally, there is the site currently has a retention pond, of which is where there's a play area for the children, and then there's also an activity area on that retention pond because it's a dry pond. The soils here are very good and dry very quickly. Even after a major storm event, they usually dry within a day to 2 days maximum. And a storm event I'm referring to now is two inches or so of rain in an hour. So that's where they play right now. So in the new facility, which is on the southern portion of that picture you're looking at, in a paved parking lot, the retention pond is going to be what we're proposing to you all is, and is in the DO, a retention pond that would be also allow a recreational activity to occur there. It's about the size of a soccer field, and we're proposing that be lighted with limitations on the lighting, to a time limitation to 10 o'clock. And also, we're doing something that you all will see before you at some point, I believe, in the next year, or the next few months or next year. We're doing dark skies, which the dark skies will allow us to have shoebox lighting everywhere on campus. We'll remove the current hack lighting on the sides of the current buildings, which shine right into those backyards. And we'll be putting in the shoebox lighting, which will be 16 feet high. and follow the dark sky procedure. So we're advanced of what we're doing, something more advanced than required. In addition, this is where David's going to speak. David loves how I go on forever. But David's going to talk a little bit about the ingress and egress to the site and how the movements occur. That was kind of, the neighbors were more curious about that than most other things when we did the community meeting. And so the ingress and egress currently is using three entrances. It really shouldn't be. There should be two, but it's using three, as it historically had been happening because the new church hasn't been built. So in working with your staff, we came up with a closing one entrance and then pushing the entrances as far as we could, either to the north or south, in separation on Orange Avenue. And so, David, if you'd also give your address, introduce yourself for the record, if you'd go through how that ingress and egress works and how the traffic circulation works, because I think this seems to be the bigger issue.
Hi, David Evans, Evans Engineering, 719 Irma Avenue, Orlando, 32803, here on behalf of the applicant. And yes, as Randy said, what we brought today up on this board, and these are the same boards we took to the community meeting in February, is the existing special exception plan that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. This was just a reference plan to kind of show you what we did have here and what was proposed at the time. Obviously, the sanctuary and the parking area in the back and the front wasn't constructed, so we're here to modify the special exception plan to be more consistent with what they need. And like Randy said, there's some changes to that to allow for some recreational areas and a pond that they didn't have on the original plan. So basically on Orange Avenue for access purposes today, there's an access on the north side, which is a one-way access into the school facility, which is the classroom in that gray building here. They come in, they either exit by doing a U-turn around this parking lot, or they go straight south and they come out a entrance that currently exists on the south end of the property. In addition to that, there was actually existing today a driveway here. So there was a total of 3 that exist on Orange Boulevard today. The idea to reduce that impact, and we worked with the county development engineering staff and transportation staff in order to come up with this plan, is to keep the north entrance, but turn that into a two-way entrance. I don't have enough zoom, so I'm going to have to slide this baby around a little bit. So we got the north entrance here with the now a two-way entrance in and out, still accessing the existing school on the northeast corner, still have a circular pattern through the parking lot on the back of the building. But then we added a full access with a left turn lane dedicated for a southern entrance as far south as we could get in order to justify the spacing between the existing development on the west side of Orange and put in a left turn lane. Because that was one of the requirements that we talked about with the county during the process of the special exception. Had several meetings with them and then went over that with them, and this was kind of the plan we came up with. That entrance now can serve the sanctuary on its own, while the north entrance can serve the school facility on its own as well. There's a circular pattern now that they can come in and drop off and pick up and then exit again on that south entrance for the worship center. And there's also cross-access between the two uses, which would be the school on the north and the worship center sanctuary on the south side.
And to the south side also is where there's a cell tower there that's right adjacent to this entranceway. And then just south of that on the property line border is the county northwest water services plant. So an interesting thing, when you look at that DO, you're going to see one part of it that, and I don't have the DO in front of me, unfortunately, but when you look at that DO, you're going to see one part of it that deals with fencing. He just dealt with the entranceways. Now let's talk a little bit about fencing. Currently, to the north of us is residential. To the east of us is residential. To the south of us is a small portion of residential, mostly the water plant and the cell tower. So dealing with those areas that are residential, some of the borderline, this will be worked out at final site plan with staff, some of that is a brick wall. So we don't obviously want to put a fence up against a brick wall. Some of that is fencing that already exists by current neighbors that's in good condition. We don't want to put a fence up against a fence. But there is other areas where the fencing has not been maintained or has aged or is not there. We've agreed to fix whatever needs to be fixed, wherever it needs to be fixed, basically, the site plan. So bordering those areas that are residential. Obviously, bordering the areas that are not residential, the county already has a secure facility, which is, if you all have been out there and seen the site, it's got barbed wire over the top and all the whole bit. I mean, it's pretty hideous. But it's secure and the wall's there. So that's one of the issues we have to work with staff on in the site plan. Additionally, one other thing I did forget to mention, you see where the retention pond is, that would be at certain times an outdoor recreational field, about the size of a soccer field. Just to the east of that also is a storage facility that we're putting in to store equipment for and any other items the school may need for storage there. There's no activity going on there. There's no repair activity going on there. The most that would happen is a chain might be replaced or gasoline might be put in a lawnmower. But no mechanical repairs will be done there except for the minor ones. Similar to you as your home, you might replace your wipers on your car. So that's the other restriction you'll see in the DO. With that, I just want to thank obviously staff for their good work on this project, which we launched last year, and we'd ask for your approval and any questions you have.
I just want to confirm that the limitation on lighting on the athletic field is 9 p.m., not 10 p.m. 9 p.m.?
9 p.m.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? None?
None.
Okay.
Did you have, I got one. Did you have any concerns about the 15 conditions that was recommended by the staff? Any issues with that at all, concerns?
No, we concur completely with the recommendation of staff. And you recognize also that site plan will have to do some workouts on a couple of things. But the integrity of the site plan, the integrity of the DO, we completely agree with.
Okay.
When's the upgrade of Orange Ave supposed to be started? Orange Ave itself, that's supposed to be improved here sometime in the future?
Jim Potter, Public Works Engineering. That has been moved back. I do not believe that this portion of Orange Boulevard will be improved. It's more towards the north, if that's what you're asking about. It will be towards, the last I heard, June of 2024 is the, I believe, start date of construction, at least the anticipated. That is a moving target at this point.
Everything's a moving target. I'm just, we keep adding and adding to the traffic over there, and I just have a little bit of concern about it. Although this is not adding to traffic, I understand that.
We are not adding.
No, I understand that.
In fact, actually, we think we're aiding a situation and not picking a fight with the Seminole County School Board. If you all are familiar with Wilson Elementary, we're containing all of our traffic and stacking capacity on site. That's where the issues occur on a site that is not working very well, obviously Wilson Elementary further up. So if anything, we believe this will improve the current flow and no capacities are changing in terms of use. That's the most critical thing, and that's what we try to emphasize also at the community hearing. Madam Chairman, if I may reserve any time for rebuttal if we have, or answer any questions you may have after public comment.
Certainly.
Thank you so much, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Any members of the public who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition? Come on up, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Howard Wagoner, 1626 Emmett Avenue. I'm adjacent to the property. Sounds like everybody's covered their bases fairly well. I've been to the other meetings. Everything's moving along fast. There's one thing it's a personal thing to me, especially about the security or the fencing along the property lines of the homeowners. What was done to get this permission originally was they just put in bushes and left the fence there. The fence is about a 3-foot or 4-foot fence. It's pretty much rotted to the ground. There is no security between my property and the church school. So I'm pushing the one that's pushing for this fence, not necessarily the big, beautiful block or brick fence with the serpentine wire on the top of it. I just would like to have a substantial fence for security purposes more than anything. I don't think we'll ever get rid of the noise. They're going to move a soccer field in our backyard, more or less, so I don't think the trees are going to help that either. It's going to be what it is there. That isn't my problem. My issue is more or less the security between us and the school to us. So that's my only concern, and about it. Other than that, looks like it's moving well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, any other member of the audience who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to this request? No? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion, and would the applicant like an opportunity for rebuttal and to address the fence issue?
Well, the good news is that if you have a 4-foot fence currently there, we'll replace it with a 6-foot fence. And we'll do that during, sir, so we'll make sure we handle that for you. And to remind you also, this is a private school. This is not a public chartered school. Most of the children that go there attend are scholarship children. And I, for one, am a firm believer, and hope you are too, that they should have the same recreational opportunities that you find in any other charter school or public school. They need the same kind of exercise. So that's the purpose of this. We're not seeing organized play here or anything else. We actually thought about to give you an idea, we thought about putting a basketball court out. And I actually kind of internally argued with the team about that. Do you know how loud a basketball court can be? A lot louder than a soccer field. So just so you kind of put that all in your mind, and that would be our response to, but we will replace that fence. And again, we make our commitment to staff that we will fix wherever we can with some kind of balance and some, obviously it's difficult with this many property owners and this different type of fencing that's occurring all over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, any board discussion? Or I have a question of staff, actually. I see that point O in the development order says that a 6-month extension may be granted by the Board of Adjustment if a development permit hasn't been pulled. Do we mean to change that to the Planning and Zoning Commission, though?
We do, that's an error. Thank you.
Okay. Any board discussion or a motion?
I have a question of Mary. Mary, when you guys write these recommended motions, if you will, I want to be clear, we're not just approving the amendment to the special exception, but we're recommending approval of the development order you've proposed as well as the proposed conceptual site plan, correct?
Yes.
Well, I wish you guys would write the motions that way in the future. You've done that before, and sometimes then the board doesn't really understand what we're really approving, and I want to make sure it's clear.
We can make that adjustment, thank you.
Okay, well, that being said, I'll amend your motion, and I'll make a motion to approve the request for amendment to a special exception for an expansion of a private school in the A1 zoning district to include recommendation of the proposed development order and conceptual site plan subject to staff's recommendation and conditions.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Kathy, are we okay now to move to back to item number 4, Atlantic Drive?
Good evening. Annie Silloway, Senior Planner with Development Services. This request is for a small-scale future land use map amendment from industrial to planned development and a rezone from M1 industrial to PD planned development for a proposed self-storage development on approximately 1.42 acres located on the southwest corner of Atlantic Drive and US Highway 1792. The applicant is requesting a small-scale future land use map amendment and a rezone order to develop the subject property as a self-storage facility with a maximum floor area of 1.45, a gross floor area of 89,481 square feet, and a maximum height of 45 feet. The subject property consists of one parcel where the Little 500 go-kart previously operated. There's an existing billboard on the southeast corner of the site, which will remain, and the proposed building will be built to maintain clear visibility of the existing billboard that is shown on the master development plan. The subject property's current industrial future land use designation reflects the trend of development at the time a future land use map was originally adopted in 1977. The intent of the industrial future land use designation is to provide appropriate locations for a variety of heavy commercial and industrial land uses oriented towards wholesale distribution, storage, manufacturing, and other industrial uses. In more recent years, other policy concepts have been added to the comprehensive plan that may have implications on the subject property. The mixed-use development future land use designation that was adopted in 2008 and the Oxford Place overlay that was adopted in 2018 have been applied to nearby properties along US Highway 1792, excuse me. Both classifications were intended to encourage mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented development along US Highway 1792 corridor. In addition, the subject property lies within the Urban Centers and Corridors Overlay, adopted in 2016 to support the Central Florida Regional Growth Vision, How Shall We Grow? With the intended purposes of encouraging walkable development patterns and providing for affordable housing. Mixed-use development on the subject site is not feasible due to the size of the site. In addition, a mixed-use development with retail and multifamily would require more off-street parking than the proposed use of self-storage. Although the subject site is located within the Center and Corridors Overlay, staff finds that the proposed amendment is in keeping with the trend of development in the area and compatible with the surrounding land uses. The property's small size acreage presents a few challenges regarding land development code requirements related to landscape buffers, setbacks, and floor area ratio. The applicant has agreed to the following site condition designs in order to mitigate any impacts surrounding uses and properties. The first is outdoor storage will be prohibited, which is a condition in the development order. The building will include architectural trim design on portions of the parapet as shown on the architectural renderings submitted by the applicant and will be placed in the development order as Exhibit C. Landscape hedges will shield the air conditioning units from the public right-of-way. 8 out of 10 parking spaces on site will utilize permeable paving surfaces. Extra landscaping will be provided in the pond area outside of the 25-foot landscape buffer along the east portion of the site. Entrance bay doors to access the storage units will not be visible from US Highway 1792 and will only be facing Atlantic Drive. And last, electric vehicle charging stations will be provided for 2 parking spaces for the site on pervious pavement. The applicant is varying from the off-street parking requirements under Section 30.1221, Manufacturing Concerns and Warehouses, for 1 space for each 1,000 square feet of building plus 1 space for each 2 employees on the largest shift. The applicant has provided a parking justification study showing that the parking calculations of 1 space for each 10,000 square feet of building plus 1 space for each 2 employees on the largest shift is adequate parking for the self-storage use. The applicant has justified based on the ITE code 151 for mini warehouses that the use would generate a low traffic impact. Per the ITE code 151 for mini warehouse, the use during peak hours in the AM and PM is estimated at a maximum 8 vehicles entering the site and 8 vehicles exiting the site. The applicant for the proposed site is providing 10 parking spaces for the 89,481 square foot building. The site is located in the City of Altamont Springs water service area, but is located outside of the City of Altamont's sanitary service area, and by default within the county's sanitary sewer service area. Therefore, County Utilities is the best option to provide both services. Water and sewer capacity is available from the county to serve the proposed development. The City of Altamont Springs has no objection to the county providing unified service to the site and has provided a letter to the applicant to that effect. There is an existing city-owned 6-inch water main located in a public utility easement that runs through the property. The utility easement and water main will be relocated to the west side of the subject property at the time of final engineering. The City of Altamont Springs has agreed to the relocation of the water main. The proposed site appears to outfall to FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, which would require a drainage connection permit at the time of final engineering. And the site will most likely have to hold the entire 25-year, 24-hour storm event on site without discharge. And the applicant is proposing buffers along the north and east boundaries of the site. The applicant proposes a reduction in the buffer width along the north from 25 feet to 12 feet with a 5-foot-high metal fence, and the east buffer is 25 feet wide facing US Highway 1792. A community meeting was held but did not have any attendees. And the proposed project supports the objectives of the PD zoning designation in that it provides the required minimum 25% open space and provides adequate buffering to maintain compatibility between the nearest rights-of-way to the north and the east of the site. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a small-scale future land use map amendment from industrial to planned development, and adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from M1 industrial to PD planned development, and approve the associated development order and master development plan for 1.42 acres located on the southwest corner of Atlantic Drive and US Highway 1792. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions of staff?
Thank you.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes.
I have is there a height from a story standpoint on a building like this in that area? Just,
Is there other buildings that are high?
yeah, is there a height a maximum? Yeah.
45 feet for the parapet. That will be the highest point. But from the building, it'll be 40 feet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Nope.
Just the applicant.
Okay.
I don't know how to use it. Good evening. My name is Sam Sabali. I am with Florida Engineering Group. My address is 5127 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening. I don't know if I'll go through a full presentation because your staff already addressed a lot of the things on the site. I may just show you some renderings of the project just so you get an idea of what's going to be developed there. With me tonight, I have the Rich Cardamone with Nuvo Development. They are a local developer who has done numerous self-storage facilities locally and in different states, and also the architect, Dan Farmer, with Farmer Architecture. If we can go, I have some renderings, maybe the third or fourth slide, there is a survey. Can you back up one slide, please? All right. Just one item I wanted to highlight. I think, we're asking for some flexibility on the buffer on the north side. I just wanted to show you what's existing today. Actually, the parking for Little 500 is in the right-of-way. So what we are proposing really is going to be a significant improvement. We're going to remove all that parking, and we're going to provide a 12.5-foot landscape buffer internal to our site. So just wanted to highlight that it will be a significant improvement for what you see today in terms of additional buffering and landscaping. Can you go? All right. I had a presentation which discussed, the trips, the square footage, and all of these items. But what I'm going to do is just highlight a few things, and then if you have questions about these specific things, I can come back and address them. So this is a rendering of the site looking south. So this would be the front elevation from Atlantic Boulevard. This here is looking southwest, so if you're standing at the corner looking southwest, this is the building which you will see. And this is looking west, let's say, from 1792. And this is looking northwest, kind of like from where the signs are to the south of the property. So Just wanted to give you an idea of how the building would look, and I'm available to address any questions. We concur with the staff recommendations. We've worked very hard with your staff. We've been working on this for over a year now. We've had a lot of meetings, a lot of back and forth, making sure that the architecture, would be a good fit, making sure we provide adequate landscaping and buffering and all the items. And right now, also, there is no drainage system, so this new development will have to meet the requirements. There is a possibility we may have to hold the 25-year storm, but that's an open question. We're going to get into it during the design process with your engineers. And but whatever it is, we'll meet the county and FDOT requirements. Thank you.
Questions of the applicant? Is there any member of the public who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? Seeing none, we can close the public comment portion. And I guess we don't need an applicant rebuttal either. So board discussion or a motion? Anybody?
I'll make a motion to recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a small-scale future land use map amendment from industrial to planned development, and adopt the ordinance enacting the rezone from M1 to PD, and approve the associated development order and master development plan for approximately 1.42 acres located on the southwest corner of Atlantic Drive and South US Highway 1792.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So the motion passes. Moving on to closing business. Mary, do you have anything for the board?
Nothing to report.
Then in that case, we will adjourn the meeting.